Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Detroit. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Luis Scott Vargas. We're ready for round number 14 where we have a mirror match here. Kind of. Is this just a straight up mirror match, Luis?
It's very close. Both these players are playing elves,
Okay.
and they're both playing the beatdown combo version of elves, right? All elves decks that we've seen in this tournament have some combo element where they just dump a bunch of elves on the table, but there's the really heavy combo deck that we saw Matt Nass pilot earlier to a win with a Beck call. Both these decks are playing more aggressive strategy. Like they actually do finish the game by attacking. They have Elvish Archdruid and they have Izuri Renegade Leader.
All right.
It's not the straight up mirror. Reid is playing mono green in the main deck with white sideboard cards, whereas Andrew Baeckstrom is playing green black with actually 4 Shaman of the Pack in the main deck and then black sideboard cards. But the what they're trying to do is basically the same.
So Reid Duke, of course, well, we know him well. He's got a PT top 8, 16 GP top 8s with 4 wins. He's sitting at 11-2 against Andrew Baeckstrom. He's got a GP top 8 in Louisville in 2013 on his resume as well, and definitely an up-and-coming Magic Pro.
Yeah, Andrew Baeckstrom, commonly known as BK, is a great dude, and he's quite good at Magic. He was very unhappy to see Splinter Twin banned. That was his favorite deck. I know he played a ton of it.
Well, he transitioned seamlessly to Elves here, sitting at 11-2.
And BK didn't play a land on turn 2. He had Elvish Mystic into 2 more Elves, and actually he's going to be doing fine on mana here. Heritage Druid Dwynen's Lead has routinely shown how powerful the combination is.
It's funny, that's almost bad news for Reid, right? Because it means that Andy's hand is full of more Elves that he can just keep powering out, especially next turn.
Yeah, this is the great thing about the Elves mirror is like both players are just going to be playing past each other. They're both just like dumping as many Elves as possible, and like you said, Reid knows that BK's last 3 cards are all spells. They're not lands. And they happen to be Court of Calling and Shaman of the Pack, so Baeckstrom could easily set up double Shaman of the Pack next turn, and that would deal 7 plus 8, 15. And that's without even attacking with anything, though some of his elves would presumably be tapped to cast those cards.
Goodness sakes.
Another elite, and that might actually just be enough.
Wow.
Though Reid hasn't taken any damage off his lands, one of the advantages of playing the list Reid is playing, it's only got 1 fetch land, 1 Windswept Heath, and 1 Temple Garden. And all the rest of its lands don't produce pain except for those Horizon Canopies, which are the last land you play. But you have 4 forests and 4 Razorverge Thickets and Cavern of Souls and Pendlehaven, so a lot of painless mana sources. That Llanowar Elf.
That Llanowar has been through some stuff with Reid. I wonder if that's like the first Llanowar Elf he ever opened or something. That's in Reid's range for sure. Oh, here's a Collected Company for Duke, though.
And he's a turn behind. And one of the key parts about this mirror is untapping with Elvish Archdruid. In fact, one of the key parts about playing the Elves deck is if you untap with Archdruid, then you're probably going to win those games. You're generally going to be very far ahead. So the fact that Baeckstrom is going to get to untap with the first one, and Reid, like you said, didn't even hit one here, means that Baeckstrom might be in really good shape. The 2 most important cards are Heritage Druid and Archdruid, I think, in terms of what leads to wins. And Reid does not appear to have access to a Heritage Druid. Like, look at this. If Reid cast a Heritage Druid here, it would add 6 mana. It would make the 6 untap elf, which means that 6 green mana. Instead, Reid is going to have to content himself with attacking for 2 and being unable to play the Izuri in his hand. All right, let's see what Baeckstrom can do here. He drew the second land, and one key difference between the 2 decks is Reid has 3 copies of Lead the Stampede, and Baeckstrom does not. He just has Collected Companies and Chords. So whereas Reid's not playing Chords. So when you untap with this much mana from Archdruid, you'd rather have Collected Company, but Chord is a little better at finding individual cards, and overall uses a little bit less mana, even though it's more expensive to cast because it casts the card you're looking for.
Let's see what Andy comes up with here. You did mention earlier the Shaman of the Pack as a potential win condition. What are the other ways that we'd see a game like this end?
A big Izuri attack. Reid has 4, Baeckstrom has 2, but whoever can attack with a Izuri activation, that's the 2/2 that if you pay 2 green, gives all your elves +3/+3 and trample. So if either player plays and activates Izuri in the same turn and then attacks with a bunch of elves, they're probably going to win. If Andrew had one in hand, then that would be enough. He's going to be able to Chord for Izuri here, and then, let's see. So he goes down to 1 green floating. If he Chords for Izuri, he's got, and he already drained Reid for 7 off the Shaman of the Pack. So it looks like he's just trying to stack up Shamans of the Pack. So now he's draining Reid for 8 off Shaman of the Pack. And then what he can do is, so Reid goes down to 5. Oh, and then Chord for a 3rd Shaman of the Pack.
Oh my! You said this was possible.
Yeah. That was an impactful turn. Drain for 7, drain for 8, drain for 9.
I can do the math on that one. Reid just has to sit there and look and say, yeah, well, show me the shaman.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And we're done here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Elves
Combo elves, I suppose.
Turn 1, Elvish Mystic. Turn 2, Elvish Mystic, Heritage Druid, no land. Turn 3, Elite Archdruid. Turn 4, Shaman, Cord.
Cord.
That was a turn 4 kill without an attack step. And
wow, insane. Holy smokes, that was crazy. All right, well, Andy Baeckstrom is going to pick up game 1 over Reid Duke here.
And
play draw, pretty important here.
Yeah, especially in game 1. Post-board games, the players have a little bit more removal. They have, Reid has access to Past Exile, and Andrew has Dismember, so they can kill their opposing Archdruids. But in game 1, there's no way to stop that.
All right, let's take a look at Michael Haynes versus Gerry Thompson here. Gerry 12-1. Same thing with Michael. It looks like there was a beast within that just took out an Eldrazi Displacer here.
And this is one of those interesting games. So Living End, the strategy of cycling all the cards like Street Wraith and a Deadshot Minotaur, and then casting a Cascade spell, which hits Living End, which kills all your opponent's creatures and then puts all your creatures into play from the graveyard. Sometimes you just have this giant Living End where you get 7 things back and they're just dead. But sometimes you have games like this where Michael Haynes clearly resolved the Living End, killed some of Gerry's creatures, got 4 creatures back, but Gerry's still just following it up with by casting 2 Drowners of Hope, and I think Gerry's actually in good shape here.
Well, I think Michael actually has another Violent Outburst in his hand.
He does, but if he does that, sure, everything in play dies. But then Gerry gets back a Displacer and a Sky Spawner, and Michael just gets back nothing. So the second Living End is going to be a lot less effective. So a really interesting strategy that came up, I was actually talking before this round to David Ochoa. He's playing Blue-Eyed Eldrazi. He's playing against Living End, and game 3 he's on the draw. He chooses to discard Drowner of Hope on turn 1. He doesn't play a land.
Okay.
And then turn 2 he could choose to discard Eldrazi Displacer and doesn't play a land. And then he starts playing lands and playing Eldrazi afterwards. And he did that so that when Living End casts Living End, he gets back Displacer Drowner and Living End can't win.
Wow. Really?
Incredible. It takes an Ochoa to think of that. Like, I did not think of that, and I'm just like, wow, that actually sounds like optimal strategy.
That is absurd. What a cool line.
Yeah. It falls apart if they have Fairy Macabre, which exiles the creatures in your graveyard. But if they don't, then that actually puts them in kind of a bind. So Gerry forced to give up a bunch of tokens here to not die to all those attackers, but Gerry's threatening lethal next turn with either Drowner and has a token, so he might force Michael to cast a Living End, which, again, would bring back multiple creatures on Gerry's side.
Here's a Fulminator Mage for Michael.
And it looks like by playing Fulminator, one of the advantages of the card in this deck is Living End gets back the Fulminator, so he gets to blow up multiple lands and kind of restricts Gerry's ability to cast spells, but I think Gerry's doing just fine here. Yeah,
Michael has a Simian Spirit Guide in hand, so he can cast instant speed Violent Outburst here. He's going to do just that. And this is necessary evil territory here for Haynes, like you said. Doesn't actually end up doing a whole lot of great work for him here. He's going to have no creatures on board outside of the Fulminator Mage here. All right, well, let's jump back over to our main match. It happened so quickly. I wouldn't mind hanging here for a minute, but I really want to see what happens in the Elves fight here. And as you can see, they're already underway.
And
there we have it. The first one with the Archdruid here right on turn 2.
Well, assuming that Andrew brought in Dismember, we'll see if he has one. Nope, he has an Archdruid. All right.
So this is supposed to favor Reid as the first one to untap with it. Let's see what he can do with it.
He can do a lot of things. He's got Collected Company, Azuri, Elvish Visionary, another Boreal Druid, and a Pendlehaven. So he can... 1-drop elves are basically free. If you play them before you tap the Archdruid, you get the mana back. And Reid also has the potential option of casting Collected Company. Instead of casting the Boreal Druid, just going land, Collected Company, try to hit 2 elves, tap the Archdruid for 4, play Azuri, play Archdruid or a Boreal Druid, and then end up with lethal and play next turn. So I think that's what he's opting to do. The only way this backfires is if Reid just misses, but
that's very difficult in this deck, and he doesn't need to hit anything super specific, right? Wow. All right.
Second Archdruid is exactly what he's looking for.
Pretty good business here. And like you said, now he has access to 4 mana from that first Elvish Archdruid.
It's possible Reid wants to not play the Azuri this turn to not expose it to removal.
What kind of removal would he be considering here from
dismember mainly? There's a small chance that Baeckstrom has like a Slaughter Pact in his deck. I mean, we can see that he doesn't, but Reid might think that's the sort of thing that could appear here, because Slaughter Pact is not a bad card. And it looks like Reid is going to not play the Azuri just in case of that Dismember, because Reid's winning so much on the board, and he has so much mana that he just doesn't even need it in play. And he's not super worried about Thoughtseize, just because Baeckstrom doesn't have access to that much black mana, given a lot of his like potential black sources are Cavern of Souls that can cast black elves, but they can't cast cards like Thoughtseize.
Yeah, one of the crazy parts about this Elves deck with Azuri is that they can win the game without it in play at the beginning of the turn, cast it and activate it because they have so much mana available.
And bear in mind that all of Reid's elves are getting +2/+2 as well from those Archdruids.
Of course. Right, yeah, he's got a formidable force here just on its own.
All right, well, let's see what Baeckstrom does with his own copy of the Archdruid. He's, again, behind a turn, and that turn is apparently what mattered in both games 1 and it looks like game 2.
Well, that can't be great for him. He's just representing Collected Company here, I suppose.
Or potentially a Court of Calling for 3, but either way, that's not going to be enough to stop the horde that's in play, and that's not even accounting for the fact that Reid is going to lead off with an Azuri most likely.
Yeah, Reid looks like he's in pretty good shape here. And like you said, he's got the Azuri in hand already.
He even drew a Heritage Druid.
He sure did.
So Reid has it all. He's got all the mana he needs. He could draw a card with Horizon Canopy or second Horizon Canopy, but I don't think he even needs to do that. Do you think Reid is sad that his Pendelhaven is no longer functional because those Archdruids are making his 1/1s into 2/2s and 3/3s?
I think he's okay with it.
Yeah. It's one of the risks of playing Elvish Archdruid.
Or 2 of them.
The second one usually less necessary than the first, because once you have the first, you already have 6-7 mana. But it's a nice bonus nonetheless.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Reid just win the game right here.
Reid shrugged and used Cavern to cast Azuri, just in case Baeckstrom had some kind of counterspell that he couldn't even think about.
Sure, why not?
Azuri gets activated. All the elves are now getting +5/+5 total from the Archdruids and the Azuri, which means that's 24 points of trampling elves coming in. And Azuri can be activated actually 2 more times.
2 more times thanks to the other Archdruid. So Andy is going to go ahead and fire off the Collected Company here, because why not? But you know, when your creatures are getting what 3, 6, 9 +11/+11.
Unless he what do you think? Do you think the odds are that Andrew hits a Kami of False Hope? That's a 1/1 1/1 that you can sacrifice to prevent all combat damage.
Yeah, well, I think that he has no hope of hitting that, and
Yeah.
Andy's going to have to scoop him up. So Reid Duke evens things up, and so far each player that was on the play has managed to win, both with good starts, good draws, both games. But you know, being ahead and staying ahead was the name of the game there for both of those first games, and they're both going to consult their sideboards again. One thing I wanted to touch on here, Luis, both players are 11-2. We had 25-55. That was how many players ended up playing in this event.
I thought that was the matchup percentages. Because now that Andy's on the play, it's 25-55 in his favor.
Yeah. What are their top 8 outlooks like at 11-2, and for them, you know, for the player who, let's say, wins this round and the next?
I can say with certainty that the loser of this match is not going to be able to make top 8.
Okay.
12-3 is just not the record that it takes in a 2,500-person Grand Prix. 13-2 is actually not a lock. I do not expect to see many, if any, intentional draws in the top 8. The way Grand Prix are structured now, you just play 15 rounds. It doesn't matter if there's 1,000 people or 3,000 people. And what that leads to is these larger Grand Prix, because this is definitely on the larger side. You just play all your rounds, and most of the 13-2s make it. Sometimes a odd 13-2 misses. The thing about missing, though, it's unfortunate. You'd rather make top 8, but if you go 13-2 in the Swiss, you still get a plane ticket and an invite to the Pro Tour. So
right.
I think that's a great change. I don't like that invite would be determined based on solely on tiebreakers. But So where that leaves these players is needing to win this round and win next round, and then seeing where things fall.
Of course, that's a huge deal for Andrew Baeckstrom as well, right? As an up-and-coming Magic pro, he isn't always qualified. You know, he's not gold.
Currently, he's not qualified. He played
Yeah.
at a bunch of Pro Tours in a row based on, he took that finish from Grand Prix Louisville and a number of other good finishes. You know, he went X5 at one of the Pro Tours last year and strung them together. But currently, he's not qualified for either Pro Tour Shadows over Innistrad or the one afterwards in Sydney. So
Yeah. So he'd love to pick up these next 2 wins and lock that up. And then, hey, you know, if he makes it into the top 8 and does well, more power to him. But yeah, getting that Pro Tour invitation is a pretty big deal when you're unqueued.
And
So
we see
we'll
that Gerry did in fact take game 1 here. That's kind of where I thought this was heading. The fact that he had a Displacer and a Sky Spawner battling against a lone Fulminator Mage is tough. And again, Haynes' last game, even if he had a 3rd living end, all of a sudden all his drowners come back. Like, you just end up in the cycle where you can't really get out of it.
Here's a play that we've seen quite a few times now for decks that have the option, which is Fulminator Mage turn early thanks to Simian Spirit Guide to take down an Eye of Ugin. Now, you know, it's a little bit risky because, well, that's why right there, because sometimes you just unlock another Eye that was in your opponent's hand anyway, but sometimes you take them off the Eye and you really slow down the deck a lot.
So, in this particular case, unfortunately for Michael Haynes, that was a turn 3 where Simian Spirit Guide just pretended to be a land. Because he missed his 3rd land drop.
Oh,
so
bummer.
that is putting him in a tough spot. And Gerry had the follow-up Eye, like you said, plus sacrificing the Scion for colorless, tapping the Halloween and slamming a Thought-Knot Seer, which lets Gerry nab either Violent Outburst or Fulminator Mage, though it's certainly safer just to take the Outburst. I'm not violently opposed to taking Fulminator Mage there, but I think you should take the Outburst.
All right, well, Michael Haynes did find himself a 3rd land. So he can go ahead and play his Fulminator Mage or start cycling if he'd like.
So Fulminator Mage can now chump Thought-Knot Seer and kill the Eye, but if you want to stick around and chump, you give Gerry that ability to cast his Eldrazi pre-combat. So yeah, it looks like Michael's just going to take out the Eye now just to make sure Gerry can't get anything else onto the board, or at least dampens his ability to do so.
Yeah, the problem, of course, is just that Michael's way behind on board. Like, he can mess around with Gerry's lands, but meanwhile, take 6 here, drop you down to 8. And Gerry doesn't need much else. Looks like he doesn't have much else either.
No. Gerry can't cast a single other one of his spells except Dismember right now. He's got all Eldrazi in hand.
That
so
still might get it done.
If Michael has 2 turns to draw an answer or a way to find the living end, if he does, I actually think Michael's firmly ahead. He gets to put it back in Jungle Weaver and 2 Fulminator Mages and now this monstrous Carabid.
Oh, yeah.
The downside is that Gerry actually can dismember his own Thought-Knot Seer in response,
Right.
and then get it back with living end. But that wouldn't that wouldn't get through a Jungle Weaver. So Gerry really does need Michael to miss on a Cascade card.
Super awkward, too. I think, is it a Street Wraith I see at the back of his hand, and he can't cycle it here?
No. Well, he can, apparently.
Wow.
That puts him to 6. And he finds another
Street Wraith. I guess you're all in. Let's do it.
So
he falls down to 4. He's dead on board.
Oh, no, he found a land, so now he can cycle the monstrous Carabid.
Oh, sure, and still have enough to cast one of his spells. Oh, this is just about as close as they get.
Yeah, you missed the Dark Confidant flip where earlier in the game.
I saw it.
Yeah, John had to dodge Dark Confidant multiple times. But
he was betrayed.
Yeah. He was by a traitor, in fact.
By a traitor, yeah. And he bricked. All right, so Gerry Thompson. Now, you know, we were just having a conversation about our main match. Players are 11-2. Gerry just moved to 13-1. Are we looking at Gerry Thompson in the top 8 here?
So Gerry is going to be able to draw in if he faces another 13-1. I believe there's one other match of 12-1s. So those 2 people can draw in at 13-1 if they, in fact, do get paired if they haven't played each other yet.
Whew, I'd love to see Gerry in the top 8.
Yeah, Gerry's awesome. That would be great. However, if they can't draw and Gerry loses, he's still got a really good shot.
Okay.
Just because 13-2, I mean, some will miss, most likely, given the size of this Grand Prix. But if Gerry starts at 13-1, there's a good chance his tiebreakers hold up.
Okay. Turn 1, Heritage Druid here for Andrew Baeckstrom. And, wow, completely different looking Llanowar Elves here for Reid Duke.
All right, this is the turn. Can Baeckstrom play 2 more Elves?
He sure can. This is it, right? Dwynen's Elite just...
Yep,
This
Intel Archdruid. This is what Baeckstrom needs. he needs Reid to not be able to kill this Archdruid, and then Baeckstrom's hand is he's got in his Uri. He's got a lot of the tools he needs.
Holy smokes! Yeah, this is going to be really tough for Reid to again, play draw, playing a major role here. Looks like Reid may go for a Visionary.
And the problem with playing Elvish Visionary here is that if Reid misses on hitting something like Path to Exile, which might be what he's drawing to, he's still doesn't have an Archdruid in play. So even if Baeckstrom doesn't win on his next turn, Reid's certainly not poised to win on his next turn.
No.
Tell you, I would have loved to have access to Dwynen's Elite when I was playing Elves. That card is real good.
What would you have replaced? What was like the card that you had to play that this one was better than?
Well, there has been much debate post Pro Tour, but Weird Harvest not necessarily the best option given the way
You'd rather have the Dwynen's Elite in this scenario. All right, fair enough.
All right, see what Baeckstrom can string together. Even if it's just Elf, Izuri, activate attack for not lethal yet, that still puts Reid in a really bad position for the next turn because given Reid's current mana situation, he's not able to go off. You really need either a Heritage Druid, which can be used the turn you play it because it's not a tap activated ability. It's slightly different. It's the word tap : where you get to pay those costs, not the tap symbol, and so you can use that turn you play it, but you need to untap with Archdruid first. So Reid basically won't have time to activate an Archdruid this game.
Certainly not true of Andy as he's playing in Azuri.
So I think he's setting up for the win next turn. It looks like he has a Shaman of the Pack in his hand, and he's just going to play out as his whole hand this turn.
Taps for 5, just dumps it.
Play his other elf if that's what he has, and then a Shaman of the Pack. Let's see what he does. Five green and 2 black.
There's a Shaman of the Pack.
Oh,
and
and
he's got Collected Company.
All right, so Shaman of the Pack, drain you for 6. Collected Company, no mana floating.
Is it okay?
Probably on the stack.
He needed the elf in order to be able to cast the Collected Company.
Yeah, so
after.
actually, it's on the stack.
Oh my god! What?
So now Reid gets drained for 8.
Okay,
because
so
the trigger was on the stack,
yeah.
and then and then next turn Reid's going to take 70 damage. Probably actually way more than that.
Right, and of course Reid can't do anything, right? He can't win from this position,
No.
and he certainly can't disrupt Andy in the way that he needs to be able to disrupt him. Wow.
So next turn, let's see, 3, 6, 8. So that's 24 mana, 25. Activate Izuri 5 times. Each elf is getting +8/+8. So that's 11, 21, 30.
You can activate
40,
Azuri
49.
5 times. That's +15, right?
Yeah.
Each.
Yeah.
Holy crap! Yeah. All right.
I think
Look at Reid smiling. He's like, "Geez, that's a good draw."
Okay, yeah, it was like something in the range of 70 to 80 damage, I believe.
Wow. Yeah, we'll have somebody do the math on that one, but my goodness. So Andrew Baeckstrom defeats Reid Duke and puts himself in a spot where he may be playing a win-in next round. And not just a win-in for the top 8, but a win-in potential, a win-in for sure for a Pro Tour invitation.
Yeah, and that's a really big game for Andrew Baeckstrom.
Totally,
so
yeah.
Best of luck to him next round.
Reid is going to have to settle for some pro points and some money here as he looks to finish strong. Now let's jump back over to one of our other side matches where we have Sam Tharmaratnam. He's playing against Huang Hao-shan, and well, blue-white Eldrazi on the right-hand side, and if you look on the other side, you'll see the same thing.
I played against Sam a number of times, actually. He's been around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I think I kept one of the worst hands I've ever kept in a tournament against him, and then he Gitaxian probed me. Saw it, laughed, and then I just top deck to win.
You did.
I kept 6 lands and a Squadron Hawk against him when he was playing a combo deck. It was
what
embarrassing.
Did you draw?
Just 4 spells in a row.
Oh.
Luck, skill, victory.
Yeah,
so Huang is going to lead with
Oh.
an Oblivion Sower here, which makes his Mimic Giant attacks. He's got Displacer, Matter Reshaper. So he's got a slightly different blue-white list than some we've seen. You don't all see Matter Reshaper hanging out there. There's Oblivion Sower presumably in from the sideboard. And He's significantly far ahead. It looks like Eye of Ugin can be activated this turn by sacrificing the Eldrazi Scion, but even an Eye activation won't necessarily put Sam in the position he needs to be. And what's the best
It's like
thing?
Sam. Yeah, he just activated his eye. What is he going to
Sam does actually have an Ulamog Dasisa's Hunger.
There it is.
He's got.
Uh-oh.
So he's got 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. He needs to top deck a land. If he can draw a land, he can cast Ulamog. He can exile. Displacer has to be one of them, and probably Oblivion Sower the second.
He's going for it.
But yeah, there's no Urborg in play. So yeah, this is a big draw step. It looks like he's got no cards in hand except for that lone Ulamog.
Go ahead.
All right.
He did it.
Flooded Strand.
He found a land.
So he goes to 3.
He's waiting on it, but he did find it. I guess he's just planning out his whole turn ahead of time here. So
No, he has his plains and his island in play. I think he top decked a Flooded Strand.
Yeah.
So he has to go down to 1 to get a land. So now he's dead to the attackers.
Oh
It turns out Flooded Strand was not in the category of lands that would work to top deck.
No, Sam. I guess he's going to take a look.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm looking at his deck list right now. He's got 1 island, 1 plains. Is he just hoping that I guess hoping that Huang does not attack him for lethal here.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, but Huang immediately, hey, you're taking 2 from that, right? Okay, yeah. Oh, that's so tough for Sam. And then he says, yeah, and then you attack me, and I die. So, once again, talking about how the top 8 could be shaping up here. Huang Hao-shan has now put himself in a position to potentially play a win in the next round. Again, 11 and 2s aren't necessarily locked. Or excuse me, X and 2s by the time the tournament's over. So 13-2, not necessarily locked in, but they should be putting themselves in a good position for top 8 here. All right, that's going to do it for round 14 here from Detroit.
Ultra Pro is the place to go for all of your Magic accessories. With card sleeves, deck boxes, playmats, and portfolios showing off the best Magic art, Ultra Pro is the standard in safe storage. Visit ultrapro.com for more information. Put your game to the test at a Grand Prix. These open tournaments feature the best players in your region as well as top Magic pros from around the world. Upcoming Grand Prix include Washington, D.C., Paris, Beijing, Barcelona, and Albuquerque. Visit magic.wizards.com/Grand Prix for a complete schedule.